That was good. Let's get another one.
Hi everyone, welcome to Priority Holder, and today I'll be playing Pippin, Guard of the Citadel in Historic Brawl. Now Pippin is a 2-mana 2/2 Vigilance, Ward 1 that can tap to give another target creature protection from the card type of your choice until end of turn. So protection from creatures or artifacts, things like that. And it operates as sort of like a pseudo Mother of Runes that you can have in your command zone. Now the name of the game is to use Pippin to protect creature threats. So we have disruptive creatures such as Spell Queller, Reflector Mage, Dauntless Bodyguard, Skyclave Apparition, ones that can get value and disrupt the opponent's plan, as well as a few cards that are just threatening on their own, like Anafenza Kintree Spirit, Luminarch Aspirant, and Adeline Resplendent Cathar. So that's the name of the game. Play a bunch of disruptive creatures and use Pippin to protect them, shield them from removal. Alright, let's jump into some games. Alright, game 1 is against Nicobolus the Ravager. This will be tough because the Ravager's pretty strong. Now this is a tough hand, no blue sources, and I think I mulligan it for a bad reason. Like, we had some castable cards that could have weathered us until we hit blue, and ended up keeping a really horrible free mulligan. And you could see Ragavan comes down, it's going to be pretty rough. Whereas if we had, you know, Selfless Savior, might have been feeling a little bit better. So Ragavan gets to start going off right away. I really think I should have gone down to 6. Having mulligan that first hand, the opponent shreds our hand a little bit. So, or we're getting punished. I mean, it's hard against a turn 1 Ragavan. Just attempting to toss Pippin out there. Already really regretting the addition of Hallowed Fountain. You can see that it's just not going to do a whole lot. And this hand is just a really bad keep, and we're being immediately punished right now. Let's see if we can draw our way out of it. Charming Prince is nice. That's going to allow us to scry and try and fend off Ragavan. But opponent has already, you know, they're right at Nicobolus mana. We're definitely going to scry. Definitely put those on the bottom. It's just one of those games. If we hadn't had that scry, we would have flooded out on top of all the other rough things happening. So we're going to snap off this block, try and get Ragavan off the board. But the damage has already been done. Opponent plays the tap land, and presumably here comes the Ravager. Yeah. So it's a 4-mana 4/4 flyer. Enters battlefield with to discard a card. And I really should have pitched Hallowed Fountain. It is really going to do nothing this game. So I don't know. Pact could have actually done something. Well, I guess they already knew about it, so it was not that great. But yeah, Hallowed Fountain was definitely the one to discard. And then things go from bad to worse here with Nicobolus Dragon God. I've battled against this a lot of times. Once again, should have just pitched Hallowed Fountain. Should have kept God's Willing. That could actually do some work. Now, opponent makes the right play here. I think a lot of people would have jammed in with Nicobolus the Ravager, but Dragon God is so incredibly strong if unanswered. Every single plus is +1 card advantage for them, -1 for me. It's absolutely backbreaking every turn it's out. So I like them staying back to block and not get it sniped by me somehow. So that is a good play by them, which is therefore really bad for us. Now I attempt to play a second copy of Pippin with Spark Double so they could cover each other, but opponent decides to not allow that to happen. They could sense what I'm trying to build up, and they use the removal mold on God Pharaoh to take care of original Pippin. I go ahead and protect the Spark Double on the way out, but that's not going to do anything. Keeping the Ravager at home again to defend, once again, I like the decision. And here's where if we had God's Willing, we could have actually killed Dragon God right here by giving Pro one of the Ravager's colors. So the stupid Hallowed Fountain is not doing anything. So that a series of rough decisions, rough mulligans, rough discard choices.
My schemes are never ending.
I think things could have been going better for us. And here Spell Pierce does nothing against Decadent Dragon's adventure mode, so. And it gets nothing against the dragon itself, so things are unraveling quickly, and yeah, a land right there will do it. We are super dead, and we're gonna move on to the next one. As we move to the next game, please hit the knots, the like button, comment and subscribe. It supports the channel and helps you know what the people want. Thank you. And in this second game, I mean, now we're fighting Golos, which is a famously powerful commander, banned in the commander format. And I'm agonizing over this hand. Like, the pieces are good, but the lands are extremely awkward. And so I put turn 1 white source into play, really trying to get turn 2 Anafenza out. Sad about the tapped blue source, though. Cold Steel Heart from the opponent. Wash Away is going to be incredible, though. Its specialty is countering commanders, so I could have slammed Adeline right here, but I really want to have Wash Away up for when they attempt to cast Golos, because they already played a Mana Rock, so it's happening next turn, so we need the blue source. So that's why I didn't go for Adeline here. Opponent plays Oracle of the Alpha. It actually shuffles a copy of each of the Power 9 into their deck. Black Lotus, the Moxes, etc. So now this turn's gonna look a lot better. We're gonna be able to play Adeline, trigger Anafenza so that she can actually attack through Oracle. So Anafenza's gonna trigger, and Adeline's gonna trigger, but they're just gonna snipe off that block, yeah. So we have our Wash Away up, and this card is just a powerhouse in Commander, so the opponent gets to attack in for good measure. And attempts to play Golos, and here's where we hammer them with Wash Away. So just a huge tempo blowout right here. 1 mana, using up 5 of their mana. Now the other problem is that Golos can still come down next turn, presumably if they have an untapped land. So Deputy of Detention here, it's going to trigger Anafenza, but we're also going to grab their Cold Steel Heart. We don't want them to be able to Golos next turn. So we're doing a great job of keeping them off Golos. They haven't gotten it to resolve once yet. Go ahead and play Esper Sentinel for good measure. Little combo with Anafenza to be able to boost its power. So we're able to smack in for a chunk of damage here, and we're feeling pretty good. Maestro's Theater, so maybe they didn't have the untapped land, or maybe they're just playing a tap land here opportunistically. But we get whammied with Depopulate. We do get an Esper Sentinel draw and a draw off Depopulate, so it's not the end of a world, and we have a creature land out. Reflector Mage was an amazing draw right there, because even if they resolve Golos, that's going to keep them off casting it for an extra turn. It's going to buy us a lot of time, but this seems like a welcoming vampire into Pippin turn, because we would love to get Pippin online to start protecting things. Alright, Chupacabra comes down, and they're going to hunt Pippin. So we've seen this game, like, Pippin is just a removal magnet. Opponents do not want it to stick around because it's like a really strong sort of pseudo Mother of Ruins. Deciding what to play. Decide just to run out Pippin again because we can still hold up Fairy Mastermind. Right, recruitment officer's okay. But we have opponent in trouble. I mean, they're down to 9 life. Like, if they slam Golos next turn, we already have an answer with Reflector Mage. Opponent is going to get to ramp themselves, though. They have resolved Golos. World Tree comes in to fix all their colors up. And they're not attacking, so Fairy Mastermind in their turn is going to give us another Welcoming Vampire trigger. I just love Welcoming Vampire. You'll see it in basically all my white decks. Very few exceptions. Definitely going to slam Reflector Mage. That's going to shoot Golos back into their hand and draw us a card. And it's going to prevent them from casting Golos next turn also. Now I'm trying to think about mana situation. Really want Mutavault online for a possible attack next turn. We're going to hammer them down to 5 life. So drawing Dovin's Veto there makes everything feel incredibly safe. Like, there's not a lot they can do that will just clean up for us. And opponent decides to try and Ruinous Ultimatum us, but we have the veto, and they've seen enough. We'll move on to the next one, and we definitely had fun that match. That was fun, beating Golos. Now we'll play against Chandra Hope's Beacon. This is a new Chandra that is incredibly strong. This looks like a great hand for us. Wash Away might be able to snipe a Chandra at some point. So her passive is incredibly strong. Allows them to copy instants and sorceries for free. I think once per turn. And she can add mana. She can kill stuff. She's just an incredibly strong planeswalker. 2 mana and pass. Honestly doesn't bode well for either Luminarch Aspirant or Pippin, but we decide just to slam Pippin and they cast Throw Possibility. Priority passes are sort of exposing the Pact of Negation in our hand. They pitched a Cage Sun. Bone Crusher Giant, that's tough because that's just a clean answer to Pippin, and it's already taxed up to 4 mana. So we sort of expected that against red. They have a lot of clean answers against small creatures, and we're like a small creatures deck. Fire off Aspirant, place the counter, see what happens. Fire Prophecy. Takes down Aspirant and gets some little card selection. So this game is just, we can't really gain any traction, like it's just getting tough. Could have ran out Pippin again, but things have just not been going well doing that. Decide to hold up a counter, and this Urbrask would have been really, really tough. I believe that's the one that forces us to Impulse Draw and gives them an extra Impulse Draw, so would have been really rough. Not to mention it's a decent threat on its own. Alright, here comes Bone Crusher. Alright, so Pippin survives a turn at least. Tap lane here is a little rough. And planning on just flashing in Brazen Bar, we can't really profitably bounce Bone Crusher because they can just recast Stomp on like all of our creatures. So opponent has yet another burn spell. And I think this is probably one of the nightmare matchups for this deck, because mono red is just going to have, especially sort of like mono red control, is going to have so many efficient answers to our threats. And if they can just keep Pippin off the board, we'll never be able to protect anything else. And I'm seeing here, like through the games, that Ward 1 is just not really a deterrent. Like Ward 2, that actually is really rough, often doubling the cost of spells to get through. Ward 1 just doesn't really do it though, and we're also sort of drawing the like all the bad cards in this matchup. Like Reflector Mage and River's Rebuke are just horrible in the face of Bone Crusher Giant. So Bone Crusher Giant is just basically owning us this game. Because if we tried to Reflector Mage it, so I'll come back to it in a second, Invoke Calamity is going to flash back 2 red spells with 3 mana value or less, which is going to be really bad. Decide we have to Spell Pierce that. Really hoping to Spell Pierce their commander with our Washout gone. We still have Pact of Negation, but I think that was actually a mistake by me last turn, because looking at our hand, didn't really have anything good to do. Should have actually used Pact of Negation on the Calamity, because we didn't have anything else to do with our mana, and we could have kept up Spell Pierce for the commander. So I think that's a mistake that will actually come back to haunt us. And Pippin bites the dust again, just being a removal magnet, which could be okay if we had enough creatures out that he was just sort of deflecting a lot of removal spells from them just by being a removal magnet himself. Sort of like the gravity of Steph Curry when he's playing. Though we just don't have any creatures to like get the job done, so we're sort of, you know, we are chipping away. Now I make a pretty big mistake here running out Reflector Mage. I thought I could opt not to bounce it, and so we just give him a free kill on Brazen Borrower, which was like an actual good threat right here. So this has just sort of been an awkward game all around. The opponent actually sort of takes a turn off with Skyclave Relic here. They're playing it very safe. They know we're like probably holding up counters, and they want their Chandra to evolve, so they're just taking their chance to really build up their mana, or if not resolve, have enough mana to immediately recast. So we're able to smash in, but we're just sort of flooding out. Decide to sort of pseudo time walk them by bouncing River's Rebuke. Sorry, using River's Rebuke to bounce their rocks and sort of undo their mana progress. And burn down the house would just ruin us here, so here we fire off Pact. And I guess Spell Pierce would have done nothing here, but I still think that was a misplay back then, not pacting on that turn. And Pact here is really tough because it eats up all of our mana. We can only play one of these spells. Decide to play the Storm Tamer because it's a fire. I maybe should have just ran out a copy of Reflector Mage. Our opponent plays a different version of Urabrask and Fable the Mirror Breaker. So opponent's just answering everything and just slamming us on card quality right here. Like they're just their stuff they have is way better than what we have. This makes me feel better about saving the glass pool to get Urabrask out of the way for a while. It does open up a good attack. Like they are at 5 life, but you know they have a creature land if they need to. They haven't even needed to cast Chandra yet. Yeah, they just pitch Urabrask because they know it's not really that important. Spikefield Hazard. Yeah. Now I agonized over this for a while. End up giving it pro red. Just to keep the flyer online against their low life total. But we're just going to get slammed right here by Chandra. And I don't think I focused enough on the fact that she has an extremely strong removal mode. Here she can just simply -3 and kill both our Reflector Mages, so I'm holding on for dear life, but it's getting real bad. And yeah, they get the double big score, and that is going to be it for us. Too much value. We could not hold on. So lost to mono red control, but we're going to move on to the next one. This time we're facing Sir Farron, the Hengehammer from original Eldraine. Sort of a low to the ground aggro creature. This is like the best hand we've seen in any of our games, so it's promising. The opponent is getting aggro with the 1-drops. Play the Scryland. Ossification, it seems like it's going to be incredible. We have a basic to attach it to, and it allows us to tax their commander. So we go ahead and play it. Here comes the commander. Now, what their commander does is whenever they attack, it can basically pump a creature, another attacking creature with its power. Now, I think I might have been too hasty with Ossification here. I was excited to tax it away, but I honestly wonder if that might have been a better Virtue of Loyalty turn. Alright, Wilson, Bear, Comrade. This is one of those Alchemy 6-sided cards. It's really hard to keep up with. It's looking a little troublesome that we're not drawing any lands because we're not going to be able to deploy our hand. So I go for sort of longer term thinking with Welcoming Vampire to start the card draw train. There is an argument also for Adeline, but Welcoming Vampire was able to hold off the attacks, and we thankfully draw a land. But I wanted to deal with Sir Farron here, so go ahead and play Werefox Bodyguard. I'm actually not certain that was a good move, though. We are able to tax their commander, but it's not the most mana efficient turn for us. I think it might have been better to play Invasion of Gobakhan and take whatever trick they might have, and then play the Virtue of Loyalty Adventure. And then hold on for Werefox, because opponent is able to transform Wilson by pitching a green card into a 5/5 Trample Ward 2. So we have an answer now in Skyclave, but we don't have the mana to pay through Ward. So I'm just trying to like buy time here by playing Brazen Borrower on Wilson. And it's unfortunate, like Ward, you could see how much better Ward 2 is than Ward 1. Ward 1 we would have been able to eat it alive with Skyclave, so they're able to just simply recast it, and they're attacking with their Death Toucher. We draw a land, and so decide, okay, we got to get rid of Wilson. It's getting a little nasty, so go ahead and play Skyclave. We lose the game audio. I keep having problems. I haven't figured out why yet. Attempt to eat up Wilson. We're going to pay through the Ward. And bracing for impact. And they have a protection spell. Not only that, but it pumps it. So Nightmare Scenario unfolds. We're falling behind. We haven't been drawing enough mana. And we have good cards, we just can't deploy them. Also think that, you know, had we led with Invasion of Gobakhan back there, we could have snatched that trick and basically known everything they were trying to do. So I think it comes back to bite us. Now, Intrepid Adversary seems like the play here. in a desperate attempt to pump up our team and like set up some good blocks potentially. But we are in like a precarious position. An opponent happens to rip the perfect card, Wings of Hubris, and attach it to their creature. Now, they could sacrifice the equipment when it's on there to give it unblockable. And so we're just dead if they attack solo. But opponent actually makes a mistake by sending everyone. And then I don't punish him for it because we can use our lifelinker to block stuff. We can actually survive off the lifelink, but I completely miss it and concede. So that one stings a lot because we could have punished them, and I think would have been incredibly favored after blowing out almost every attack they were making. They still would have had Wilson out, but we would have gained a chunk of life and kept every one of our creatures alive. So that was tough, but now we're on to the first sliver. We got to try and shake off that last one. And that's one that I discovered in the editing room, that horrible misplay where the opponent made a mistake and then I made a mistake and they got the win. So Cold Steel Heart from the first sliver, and audio's back on. Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath, known powerhouse. We're going to go ahead and counter that to try and slow down their mana progress. And their graveyard's completely empty, so Uro's not coming back anytime soon. And we're able to further set back their mana with turn 3 Lorn of the Third Path. Card that's been incredibly good in like basically any white deck. It's really nice. Okay, Oracle, Moldiah. Don't think we're going to pact that this turn. Trying to decide what to play. Go ahead and play Pippin. We're definitely attacking him with Lorn. Like, we'd love to trade with Oracle. Alright, our opponent just takes it. They want to try and get some lands at the top. We can already see on the top of their deck they have Dryad of the Elysian Grove and still don't have a land on top. So I was expecting a turn, turn 5 first sliver right there, but they miss a land there and are at least missing one more land. End of the turn, I'm going to activate Lorn to have us each draw because Fairy Mastermind is going to give us a bonus card. So us going up 2, them going up 1 seems like a favorable exchange, especially like when we're sort of ahead on board presence and pressuring them. So opponent's stumbling, so we want to try and press our advantage because theirs is definitely favored in the long game. So decide, that was the justification for activating Lorn. We're definitely going to give it pro creatures here to chip in for some more damage. Holding up Spell Queller here, and we see a Wrath of God on the top. So we're going to cast Invasion of Alara. Does some sort of cascadey kinds of stuff. And they have choice between Day of Judgment and another card, and we're definitely going to Spell Queller this Day of Judgment. So snatch that up. And now we're +2 power, and they haven't taken care of the board. We're going to do the same trick where we activate Lorn and get a Fairy Mastermind bonus trigger. Skyclave is pretty good. Mutavault is nice, because that can allow us to survive like post-Wrath. So we're going to give Lorn pro creatures once again to keep chipping in damage, because we're going to be able to attack for 6 right here. They're going to fall to 9 life. Now, this is a critical turn. Like, we know we can Pact will probably keep us safe to pretty much anything, but I'm trying to be able to figure out the kill. So I'm about to cast Skyclave just to get more board presence, but the opponent packs it in. So this deck didn't win as much as I would have liked. Had that haunting error at the end of the Sir Farron game, but I still think there's a lot of potential, especially with some like refinement of this deck. Like, get Hallowed Fountain out of there. That thing is just annoying and losing games. I think there is a lot of potential here though, and I hope that you could see like how the deck can sort of play if it's running on all cylinders. I think this deck needs to have a little bit higher creature density, and another thing that's really tough is like all the best disruptive creatures in these colors cost 3 mana. You could see how many all-stars there are here. Problem is that if all your cards cost 3 mana, it's really hard to double spell until really late in the game. So I think a little bit of refinement is needed to lower the curve and add in some creatures that are just more threatening, increase the threat density a little bit, and I think you're good to go. So anyway, it was a fun experiment, and thanks for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.